Bud Light is culturally dead. Taking a look at its sales for this week, it's down 27%. We got this image coming out of a CVS. Ain't nobody buying Bud Light. Clearance on special. You know what? Dude, I noticed the same thing. I didn't think twice about it. I just thought it was normal. We went to a grocery store, and in the front, it was like barbecue stuff. And it was like, get out there and barbecue. And there's a big thing of Bud Light. I didn't really think about it. My assumption was just that it's beer up near the barbecue stuff. Now looking at all this, I'm like, wait, beer outside of the liquor section in the front of the store? Okay, now that's kind of weird. It's because Bud Light's doomed. Look, people are going to buy Bud Light. Their sales are down around 27.7% year over year. It's been getting increasingly worse. It's probably going to get worse. Yo, their sales are down nearly 30%. Can you believe that? Wow. Take a look at this story. Bud Light sales falling by as much as 20% a week could be the new normal after Dylan Mulvaney debacle unless something drastic changes. Industry analysts warn as cases lie untouched and unsold in Florida CVS. Oh boy. I was reading this article from the street. I love it. New Bud Light data suggests outrage against the company is waning. I called it. I called this. They're lying, of course. What I said was a certain number of people are going to say no more Bud Light. It will spread to their friends as more people learn about what's going on. And then it will probably taper off, right? Now they're saying it's waning simply because most people who don't like, who would be pissed off about this have stopped drinking. Take a look at this data. Brian Sazi says Bud Light sales bottoming. You've got Budweiser, which dropped 5.9%, 10.7, 13.1, 15.9, and then the next week, 14.5. But then take a look at, so these are all of their brands dropping. This is really, really funny. You had Michelob Ultra in the first week or so of the boycott. No one really cared. Their sales were up. Busch Light was up. Then I think people realized, hey, this is all Anheuser-Busch. Now we're seeing some of the lesser brands or the other brands are seeing a slight recovery. Not Bud Light. Not Bud Light. He says Bud Light sales bottoming. You can say Anheuser-Busch maybe. But take a look at this. 27.7% down. Woo! That is so apocalyptically bad. And this is only a month of data. It says to May 6th. Absolutely incredible. It's going to keep happening because Bud Light disgusts people. This is the issue. You know, I try to avoid roping Dylan Mulvaney into this, but this is what people see when they think of Bud Light. I asked some people, you know, look, I want to stress, I mean no ill will towards Dylan Mulvaney. I don't like Dylan Mulvaney. I think Dylan Mulvaney is an evil individual. I mean that. I don't like using the word evil, and I don't take it lightly. But Dylan Mulvaney represents manipulation of the public for profit. I do not believe Dylan Mulvaney is trans. I believe Dylan Mulvaney is no different than any other actor getting surgery to appeal to people on camera. I think Dylan Mulvaney is an evil, evil person. And but other than that, like, look, I'll call a lot of people evil. I don't wish them ill will or anything like that. That being said, I think the reason Bud Light sales are dropping is that people are disgusted by Dylan Mulvaney. I, again, am not saying that to be derisive, to be mean to Dylan Mulvaney. I say that because I asked people. You know, initially I was saying it's because people don't want to look effeminate. I think a dude who's going to a baseball game doesn't want to be seen carrying around the beer associated with being a homosexual. So these guys want to go to the game. They want to rib with their buddies. They want to laugh and they want to be manly and they want to impress women. And they don't feel like they can do that with Bud Light. I still think that's true. But I had a lot of people tell me when I'm going out, hanging out on the weekends and stuff like that, I ask people like, these are strangers too. And I'll say like, what do you think about the Bud Light stuff? And they'll be like, ooh. And then they'll be like, oh, you're not going to drink it? And they're like, nope. And you know what I heard from a lot of people? It's because the thought of Bud Light disgusts them. I thought that was very interesting. I was like, disgust. I had one person overtly say it. But the attitude of many people was like, ugh. It wasn't so much like, oh no, I don't do that. That's not me. It wasn't so much like I want a manly beer. It was, ooh. I think Dylan Mulvaney is I think it was said by other people. Someone was mentioning, Washington Post columnist said, Dylan Mulvaney's strange, off-putting Audrey Hepburn act is, they didn't say disgusting. They said like off-putting, I think is the way it was described. I could be wrong. Off-putting or something, or attracting no one. I think the fake man pretending it's like drag Audrey Hepburn. I think that grosses people out. And so this is what people have told me. The thought of getting a Bud Light just makes them grossed out. That's the association of Bud Light right now. And that's why people don't want to buy it. This past weekend, I went to a liquor store. I've said this a few times. And they had on the windows, Bud Light sale. It was like $17 for a 24 pack. Cheaper than this one. This one says $19.99. I don't know how much a 24 of Bud. Oh, this is an 18. Really? 18 cans? $20? Seems a little high. I don't know how much it normally costs. But you can see here it's on special because nobody's buying it. When I was at the liquor store, some lady was buying a bunch of Bud Light, probably because she doesn't know and she doesn't care. That's the thing about most people. Most people don't know and don't care, which is why I think this is going to get worse. They're saying it's bottoming out. I don't think we're going to see as big of a spike where, when Kid Rock does that video, there's a huge drop off. More people start talking about what's going on. And then over the past few weeks, it gets worse and worse. And it's the worst it's been in the past week. However, I do think that what we are going to see, especially with the 4th of July coming up, is a major drop off year over year. Regular people are not going to come back to this brand because Bud Light, oh man, they tried. They did the Clydesdale thing, but they didn't apologize. They did not step away. They leaned in and they laughed the whole time. It's the most infuriating thing. And so they've dug their own grave. Bud Light wanted to embrace this. They say privately it was one campaign, it'll never happen again, but publicly they won't say anything to us. They won't say we're sorry. They won't say let's get back to being an American brand. Well, Bud Light's owned by a Dutch company or something like that, InBev, so they won't. Yuengling will. Yuengling posted a picture of the can being held up by next to an American flag. Yuengling, you got to expand your operations and distribution across the country, make it bigger. But here's what I think is going to happen. That woman I saw buying Bud Light, she didn't know about this. She didn't care about this. But eventually, someone's going to show up with a bunch of Bud Light and they're going to walk into the backyard and be like, I got the beer. And they're going to go, oh, you bought Bud Light? And they're going to go, yeah, you guys don't know. You know, like, dude, get out of here. No, I'm not drinking that stuff. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I mentioned this too a couple weeks ago. I was at an event and they had a bar and the beers are lined up on the counter, right? And I said, when the guy opened the fridge to get me a Yuengling, I can see the Bud Light in the fridge. And I was like, oh, you're not putting the Bud Light out? And he's like, no, I mean, if somebody asks for it, I'll sell it to him, I guess. But no, we're not putting it out. I thought that was hilarious. That he was just like, no, we don't want to put Bud Light out. So eventually just get rid of it. What seems to be happening now, because the rumors are circulating that Bud Light is giving away rebates. They're basically trying to give the beer away for free in a desperate attempt to make sales look like they're recovering. Good luck. Now, of course, Miller Lite's getting dragged because they apologize for using women in bikinis. It's the weirdest thing. Why don't you know what they should do? Miller, I got an idea. If you want to sell beer to women, here's what you do. You take a classic beer commercial with busty women in bikinis walking up carrying the Miller to the guys, and you gender swap it. Everybody would find that funny and fun. Having like some women sitting in like two women come into the backyard and they're just like, let's crack open a Miller. And they do. And then all of a sudden there's like ripped dudes in shorts being like, what's up, girls? You want a drink? And they're like, yeah, that'd be hilarious. Instead, they do this weird feminist woke thing with this like racist woman. And she's like, they made us wear bikinis. Can you believe it? Oh, yeah. Women are so dumb They think when they personally buy a bikini, they're being forced to do it. I love it. I love the marketing strategy of all these companies. Look, Bud Light may start recovering a little bit. Some people probably didn't buy it because they were embarrassed. Some people probably forget, but I think they'll never recover. I think they'll recover a little bit. What I mean is they'll never go back to where they were. Bud Light is a disgusting brand now. And all anyone can think about when they think of Bud Light is Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan Mulvaney is nails on a chalkboard, and that's putting it lightly. Nails on a chalkboard. That's the whole, like the commercial where Dylan's like twitching. Like, I don't know if you've seen it. Dylan, to me, looks unwell, like twitching back and forth. And I'm like, what is this? It's like, at least the feminist thing I can understand. Like, women don't want to be objects. We want to drink beer. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I don't really care all that much. I think it was a dumb commercial. And I don't want to drink garbage. They're going to compost. If you didn't see it, they're going to compost the Miller ads and beer ads and then grow hops from it. And I'm like, that's disgusting. There's chemicals in that paper. Please do not do that. That's apparently what they're going to do. So sure, dyes and chemicals in your hops. And then they're going to donate the hops to lady brewers so they can make cheaper beer or something. And I'm just like, okay, so now I got to avoid women breweries because you might have garbage hops in the beer. I don't want that. Sorry. That's just gross. But anyway, and let's say I understand that. The Dylan Mulvaney thing is just nails on a chalkboard. And as I've already stated, a lot of people tell me they're disgusted at the thought. And that when they look at Bud Light, this is what they imagine. They think it's gross. Again, I am not saying that about Dylan Mulvaney. Dylan, do whatever Dylan wants. But I'm just saying that's what I've heard from people. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.